No, it is YouTube, live on YouTube. Okay.
Yep, we're good, Cheryl? Yep.
Okay, good. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the December 16th Wednesday agenda for the General Finance Committee of the Township of Muskoka Lakes. Welcome you all today. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 9:04. We never agree on the time, do we? As I call this meeting to order, I want to state that this electronic meeting is being held in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I want to confirm that all members are present, and I want to confirm quorum. There are no members absent. Thank you. And I want to verbally confirm here that the CAO, the clerk, assistant clerk, and other members of the senior management team and staff are present. And advise that public input on the agenda was invited at our email address, tmlpubliccomment@muskokalakes.ca. None was received. Two notes of interest to you. Motions. The motions have been pre-populated with random movers and seconders to expedite this meeting and voting. Members shall physically raise their hand until the chair has confirmed the vote. If the vote is unclear, a verbal vote shall be recorded by the clerk. This is not considered a recorded vote. Everyone knows how to use their blue hand. Put your hand up if it's not working and I'll recognize you. There are no supplementary agenda items today. And I would just ask if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest of any of you before we start based on the agenda today. Okay, looks good. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start the meeting off with our first delegate, which is Mr. Michael Silver, speaking on the Torrance Barrens. Probably we'll be having some discussion afterwards, so no need to really introduce Michael other than to say welcome. Thank you for being here today, and we look forward to your presentation. You have approximately 5 minutes. Thank you. Michael?
Okay. I've just been admitted. I thought there might have been a technical issue. Thanks very much for letting me delegate. And I also want to thank the township and the individuals involved for their prior support of the Barrens. There's been letters from the mayor. There was a penultimate Zoom meeting in July. Most recently, the mayor's letters regarding the fire ban. So I think it's recognized that the Barrens is a crucial and precious piece of Muskoka, and it has an international reputation. In fact, I was talking to the Royal Astronomical Society earlier in the week, and they refer to it as their flagship. The township support for the Barrens has been very deep and long-standing, and it's why the Barrens management plan put out by the ministry actually calls on the ministry to specifically partner with the township among some other groups. I think you've had a copy of my letter to Jeff Urich and Wade Mirren. It was dated December 9th. I don't propose to talk about it anymore unless you have some questions. It was prompted in part by Jeff Urich, the minister's November 4th letter, which I was given to understand didn't respond to the town's or all the other supportive groups' requests for a fire ban and some other management issues going on at the Barrens, and kind of nailed the coffin on an MOU with the town. But since that letter and since my December 9th letter, there have been some interesting developments. The ministry is now forming a working group, a steering committee to operate the Barrens. You're aware that the township has been asked to send a representative to be on the committee. You should most certainly do this, and I advocate for participating wholesomely in that. Ruth is the nominee, and I can't think of anyone better. She is the most natural, knowledgeable, appropriate person to be on that committee. She and I have worked together for decades on this. She has tremendous commitment. She has a sense of purpose and an institutional memory. So I wholeheartedly ask that you do nominate her. Now, interestingly, I called Wade Mirant on Monday. He is the zone manager for the Barrens. Anyone who's been in Zoom meetings or written letters will know who he is. We actually had a very positive and productive conversation for over an hour. We talked about the role of the committee. We talked about it being functional and operational. We talked about boardwalks, access to the dark sky viewing site, the fire ban, camping, everything you can imagine about the Barrens. And he said one thing I do want to relate to the committee, because perhaps more than anything else that we discussed, I think that he is sincere. He told me that it would be the crowning achievement of his career before he retires to get things back on track with the Barrens. Now, he has 400 sites to manage in his portfolio as a zone manager. This is the one that makes a difference to him. So he recognizes its importance, and I think that we should take him at his word when he talks about it. At least give this a chance, this whole process. Interesting. I guess we have punched above our weight, and we've at least succeeded in having an impact, all of us who've been involved in lobbying here. He had invited me individually. He invited a Guardians member, the township, of course, someone from the Muskoka Ratepayers Association, and he also invited someone from the Water Reserve. The Water Reserve hasn't actually been involved in anything to do with the Barrens, but I hope that inclusion works out. I told him he also needed to invite someone from the Clear Lake Association, YMCA Camp Pinecrest, the Muskoka Conservancy, and Gravenhurst. The reason for that is all of those are mentioned in the management plan as being groups with which the ministry is supposed to partner. They're very specifically mentioned, and their role in originating the Barrens is there. YMCA Camp Pinecrest is the largest abutting landowner. The Muskoka Conservancy actually owns a chunk of land right in the middle of the Barrens. And of course, half the Barrens falls within the township of Gravenhurst. On Monday, I emailed Paul Kelly and asked if they had been included, and he said they had not. And I said, well, you should be included. You have every right to be there. So he immediately sent an email to Wade Mirant and got Gravenhurst included. That all happened Monday within the span of a few hours. So Gravenhurst now does have a representative. It's somebody from their GAC committee. I'm still waiting to hear about the other groups. I know all three of the other groups have requested formally to be included. So this is a good litmus test of Wade's sincerity. I think he should put them on, and hopefully he will. I would really like to give this committee a chance to work. I hope it does work. The Barrens needs it to work. Wade and I pledged to each other to put the past behind us and to focus on the future. It was a very amiable conversation. So, given all that, I do have an ask of the township. Number one, please support Ruth Nishikawa in her participation on this committee. Please let her do her job, give her flexibility, respond to her requests. If you support Ruth, you support me, and you support the Torrance Barrens. Also, please continue to advocate for the fire ban in any correspondence or communications the township may have with the ministry. That is hugely important. We need to get that dealt with before the spring. I know that the mayors have written their letter. The township is on the record for passing resolutions and other communications. So make the message consistent and forceful. It's too important an issue to lose sight of. There may be some requests for financial support. I understand that the $20,000 for the boardwalk is still there. There may be future allotments. I don't know. Wade and I talked about maybe a specific campground on the south side of the Barrens. That would be a good idea, I think. It would get the riffraff array away from the most sensitive areas of the Barrens that are highlighted in its own management plan, get the garbage away from trails, open up the dark sky site, and if there were to be a fire, at least the road would be a barrier. So there's some good reasons for that. I hope we can go down that path. So subject to all that, that's really, I think, all I have to say. If there's any questions or comments.
Thank you, Michael. I would ask the committee for any thoughts you may have. I know that it's a very large topic. This is a good news story. For those of you who've been following it very, very closely, things have happened very quickly, and it would seem to me that our two mayors, that being Mayor Harding and Mayor Kelly, along with John Klink, I think something moved. Something got into Queen's Park, and there's movement. I think there's a receptive environment. I mean, for Wade and Michael to join hands on a call for an hour that's stellar, and I certainly appreciate it. I think it's the way forward. I can't speak for the township in terms of our commitment to Ruth, other than, of course, we want to be supportive of this and move this forward. And I hope that we can be partners together. So I would ask the committee if they have any other thoughts, please do ask of Michael. If not, we do have item 5A, which is a fulsome staff report from Director Becking on the Torrance Barrens Working Group, as it's called. So we will have a discussion there at that time. So Michael, hopefully you can hang around if you are so able, and we'll get to that topic at that time in perhaps three quarters of an hour. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate your time and your content. I'm going to move on then to item 4B, which David Rees is attending here today, requesting to purchase an original road allowance leading to Lake Rosseau. David, are you joining? Here you are. Good. Welcome, David. There's two.
Mr. Hitcheon, just to interrupt, sorry, Mr. Hitcheon is Mr. Rees's solicitor, so I've allowed him to come into the waiting room. However, he wasn't on the agenda. I apologize.
Okay, welcome, gentlemen. So whoever will speak to this notion, if you would proceed, please do. You have the floor. Oh, you're muted, gents.
Good morning.
Morning.
Can everybody hear me? I'm just waiting for my solicitor, Mr. Hitcheon, Jay.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
My name is Hitcheon from the law firm of Watershed, Amy Hitcheon, and I'm representing Mr. Rees with respect to this request. We're dealing with the property at 1405 Judd Haven Road on Lake Rosseau. I hope you have before you my letter of November 14 from last year, 2019, and a surveyor's plan from as far back as 2009. We're here today to ask the committee to recommend to council that the road allowance running through the middle of 1405 Judd Haven Road be conveyed to Mr. Rees. That is part of the road allowance between what is now the Township of Muskoka Lakes and the Township of Seguin. The Township of Seguin has, their staff has indicated that they would support conveyance to Mr. Rees of the portion of the road allowance lying within their township. The road allowance was actually closed some 60 years ago. The bylaws that are shown on that sketch, the surveyor's sketch. So it is in fact a closed road allowance. The landowner to the immediate west purchase the
Discussion?
portion of the road allowance. And accordingly, there is no access to this road allowance from the west, nor is there access to it from the north. The only access is perhaps from the lake itself, so that somebody theoretically might park their boat and walk up along the road allowance if that were allowed. The only place they could go is on the road allowance. So we have this practical situation where really the road allowance does not serve anyone. It leaves some liability in my submission with the municipalities on this closed road allowance. So in dealing with staff, we've requested this before, and they have cited to us for a policy C L3-08, which indicates that the municipality should not, under its policy, close road allowances. If one would impact on access to an adjoining property, or two, it would impact access to water. I point out that that policy speaks to closing roads. This one is already closed. The adjoining owner to the east, the Pollards, they already have recently, within the last year, from Mr. Rees's predecessor, entitlement granted rights of way for 21 years less a day to access their property. So they have access to the property. We suggest to you that given that this is a closed road allowance and that municipalities normally close roads so that the public does not have access to it, this is a different situation than contemplated by your policy. If there is some disagreement as to that, we would suggest to you and submit to you that it is only a policy. And given the factual circumstances here of access, we would suggest it is open to you to have an exemption to this policy and to agree to convey the property to Mr. Rees. It is important to him and any future property owners, as you can imagine. It's quite difficult to explain to people that you have a road allowance running through the middle of your property and yay, north of your cottage, as you can see from that sketch. We think this is the cleanest way to clear it up, the way to avoid liability and misunderstandings, and does not do any harm to your policy. Mr. Chairman, I think I can leave it at that, hoping for a recommendation to council to sell the property to Mr. Rees. The original bylaw, by the way, said close up and sell. It was just that Mr. Rees's predecessor did not pick that up for whatever reason, not known. So thank you for your time. I'm here to answer questions.
Good, thank you. Mr. Rees, would you like to say anything, or is that?
No, I don't. I think, first of all, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to sit and review this with us. But I think Jay covered most of this, and that's all we're all basically trying to do is just get this cleaned up and the easiest possible way to go about this. And I think Jay covered most of it with there really is no access to this road that was ultimately closed some 60 years ago. For whatever reason, that owner at the time didn't buy it or didn't know about it, but there's really no access other than the water. And we're just trying to get this cleaned up.
Good.
I think Jay covered most of it.
Okay, good, thank you. I'll ask committee then with that. Having reviewed the documents forwarded to you and the agenda, does the committee have any thoughts, observations on this point at this point in time? Councillor Nishikawa, perhaps? Go ahead.
Just a guess, right? I suppose that I rely on staff. I don't I don't expect staff to have a comment on what may or may not occurred 60 years ago, because in fact, from my experience of 25 years of actually having to come in front of council for various things, it has always been that we do not sell roads leading to water. And I've tried to do it myself for different customers. So I just am not seeing from staff what the difference is today, or I'd like to hear from them.
Thanks, Ruth. And I'll ask Terry and then Terry Guthrie and then our Mayor Phil Hardy.
Just a little more information for you. The reason it's before you today is because our policy says we don't accept applications to sell road allowances that lead to water. So the delegates are here to ask, more so than anything, that you allow staff to accept an application that will allow staff to review the history and the geography and the access and provide senior staff comments by way of a future staff report for you guys to make a decision based on further information.
Good, thank you. Mayor Harding?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And it's difficult, I think, for our committee to understand this without seeing a survey or what's really going on. I'll be honest, I was contacted by Mr. Rees and I asked him to come to delegate to try and explain it. I think we do need to understand and see the survey. I agree with Councillor Nishikawa. We don't sell road allowances that lead to water. The unfortunate part about this particular road allowance is it's water leading through a road allowance to Mr. Rees's property, and then it stops. It actually doesn't get to a road. So nowhere in the township can you drive down a road and get to the water, because the road allowance to the west of Mr. Rees's property has been already sold and conveyed to the individual property owners. So it's an orphaned piece of road allowance, if you will, would never be opened up. And the only thing that we are promoting theoretically is people to go park a boat and access Mr. Rees's property, because it's public. They can't go anywhere other than to Mr. Rees's property. So I would certainly be supportive of staff bringing this back and letting council and committee weigh in on it, because I think this is very much a unique situation. And in conversations with Smith Guthrie, we may have some other areas like this around the township of these orphaned road allowances. And again, this is only half a road allowance, because the road allowance to the north is owned by Seguin, and they're willing to sell their portion of it. So now we've only got a small orphan 33-foot section. And anyway, so that's sort of my comment, and I would appreciate having a full staff report coming forward to evaluate it.
Thank you for that, Mayor. And certainly I would echo that. Based on what the two of you have said, I would ask for that staff report. I would ask, maybe have a look around at this committee for perhaps a nodding of heads if that's so inclined. Everyone's saying yes to that. Certainly. So, Mr. Rees, we would ask staff to bring forward that report and perhaps keep you up to speed, and you may be back here in January with that staff report. I'm just going to let the CAO chime in here. Derek?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarity, committee, if I haven't seen everybody's nodding of heads, but the direction that you're giving staff is to enable the applicant to submit an application, which would then trigger the staff report. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's good direction.
So is there
Everybody, do I see a yes? Good. The committee is in support of that. Thumbs up. There we go. So good. So, sorry. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jaglowitz. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I don't mean to throw any monkey wrench into it, but I was led to believe there was something in front of us, but I didn't see anything. So I think it's proper to bring it back, but I don't know that we're approving anything, are we? We haven't even.
No, we are not. We're simply moving ahead with the request for a staff report based on them, Mr. Rees coming forward with request.
An application.
Yeah, but a lot of time these things are routine. I think in this case, I'd like to reserve my opinion anyway until I see it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. And that will happen. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, If I could just ask, Ms. Guthrie, is there a form of application or do you just want a request?
I will send you an email following the meeting today and provide you everything that you need.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 4C. Safe Quiet Lakes is going to give us their yearly update. Colleen Kennedy, are you here? Welcome. Oh, there she is.
There she is.
Well, she's okay. Good.
So I'm going to be sharing the screen so she can do it.
So Colleen, welcome. You have a presentation. Our clerk, Cheryl, is going to share the screen with you, and you two, you can proceed as soon as you are comfortable. Do we have audio?
Can you see the Safe and Quiet Lakes presentation?
I can see the first page.
Yeah.
So Colleen, are you ready to?
Can you see her, Cheryl?
I don't see her.
There's no audio on her thing.
Colleen, I wonder if you can hear us somehow. Audio on.
I wonder if she's enabled her computer or something. Doesn't show on the icon.
What if you back away from the presentation for a minute? Could we?
Yeah.
We wiped her out when we put that up.
It just says connecting.
She's connecting to
The icon is
audio.
only the camera. I'm wondering if she's connected her computer audio.
It says connecting to audio on the screen, right?
Are you able to? Okay with it? I don't know whether you can do something, but I can.
I suppose once we get our vaccines in 2021, we won't have these problems anymore.
Maybe disconnect her and.
Do we go to the next delegation?
Okay, yeah. So Colleen, I'm not sure if you can hear us. What we would propose to do here would be to move to the next delegate. Move to the next delegate, and then let you get organized and get you connected and sorted out, and then we'll let you come on after our next delegation, who hopefully is here. I don't see him either. Is that so? Graham Good, he's the manager of Geomatics at the District of Muskoka. He's going to give us a demonstration on the GeoHub phenomena that's just out. Excellent. So I'm not sure if Graham, if he's here. Okay, we're just letting Graham in now.
I think you have to, because you're the blind. You're the host.
Hello, can you hear me?
There he is. We can't see you, but we can certainly hear you. Now, Graham, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Thank you. Now, are we going to be, there you are. Well done. You're outside. It's cold.
Yeah, well, welcome to Muskoka, right?
Way to go. So you're, how do we now share?
I've made the call.
Okay, so you've been made a co-host, so we've given you the controls.
Excellent.
If you want to start out, however you feel comfortable, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today about our new Muskoka GeoHub web mapping site. We're replacing our old version that's been around for a decade, and we thought it was a good time to give a new and improved version to everybody. We launched it about a month ago, and since that time, we've done about we've had about 400 people to do these type of live demonstrations over Zoom. We did a large one for the public that included Lake Association representatives, contractors, developers, consultants, and just people who love maps. And it seems like we have a lot of them. We've had over 18,000 hits so far on the site in less than a month, which is pretty good for us. But we've also done demonstrations to your township staff and all of the other area municipalities' township staff. And we did a separate one for the District of Muskoka staff. So we've had some great comments so far, basically on the quantity and the quality of the maps. And we've been able to show what we think are some pretty made in Muskoka custom maps that most people don't get to see. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope this goes perfectly.
So do we.
And you should be able to see our Muskoka GeoHub site. Okay, so we've got lots of maps here that the public can access. I don't have time to show all of them, but I thought I would start with the topographical map. This has a lot of the GIS information in it that most people would be interested in seeing just as a starting point. And what you'll notice here in the legend is every time I zoom in, you'll be able to see more information come up on the legend. So it's dynamic. And here's a tip. If you're interested in going in a particular location, you can just hold your mouse over that and the map is smart enough to follow where you're pointing. And I would like to go to downtown Windermere for this demonstration. And you'll see we've got roads and properties and buildings. And when you get down to the ground, you'll be able to see civic address point files, all being available and used for everybody, all the public. But this map is dynamic and it is interactive. You could go to this layer list and turn on or off the layers that you don't need to see or you don't want to see. So just uncheck the base map, it's gone. But you could also open up this group, and if you just don't want to see the building permits, then you could do that as well. You could turn each individual subset layer on and off, or the entire thing. So it's up to you. You could pick and choose what you want to see. You could also drag the map around. Just click and hold your mouse, and you could center the map wherever you need it to be located. All of our maps have access to air photos. And this button up here is the base map gallery. If you click that, you can quickly just turn on the 2018 air photos. But you could also go back in time. You could go back into 2013, 1987, or all the way back to 1969 for parts of the District of Muskoka. So we've got a lot of easy access and quick. If anybody's used the old version, you would see that this is a very, very much faster product. The other map I wanted to just show you, because I know you're familiar with it, is the floodline and LiDAR mapping. This is a new map that may be very unique to Ontario municipalities. It shows the new floodline maps, but it also shows the LiDAR base map that we've created in order to create the floodline maps. If I just click on a random property, it will give us a ton of information. So click away on whenever you're on these maps, you'll find a ton of information. Here's just our basic information that we've had on parcels for the last decade about that particular property. And it also includes the extract date. And just a note on that, we take a lot of effort to make sure that the data on these maps is current and up to date. And we refresh it every night, 2 o'clock in the morning, to make sure that everybody's looking at the most current information. But when you have more than one layer here, you'll see the 1 of 4. You could actually click this next feature and it'll give you some information behind it. And in this case, it's 226 meters above sea level. And if I click the next button, or the next, it'll tell me what the flood elevation is for this part of the lake, which is 226.3. So you could do your math. And you can figure out that this part of the property, in worst case scenario, might be under some water. The other thing I wanted to point out is on these pop-ups, there's these more information tabs, these highlight or hyperlinks. Click it, you're going to get a lot more information. And in this case, it's taking us back to the original consultant's floodline mapping for this particular lake and this particular section. So you could actually access that fairly quickly and easily. There's other information there. I could also go back and go to the original property one, and you could see that we also have another view of this property from the street. So you could actually see what it is from two different directions. We also have links at the top of every map. Up here is a flood view floodline webpage from the District of Muskoka site that gets a lot more information. And beside it is the actual technical report from the engineers to tell you exactly where this line was created and how it was defined. So there's a lot of information on every map. I've also, previously, I said air photos can be added to every map, and I could do that again. But in this particular case, we've got a special tool, which is called the swipe tool. And you could actually swipe over the air photos to see what it looks like from the ground and see the ground elevation, which is the LiDAR, penetrating through all the trees and the canopy to see what the elevation is on the ground. And a lot of our GIS professionals spend most of their day playing with that map. A couple other maps that I'd like to show you are again, they're fairly unique to Muskoka or unique anywhere. And one of the ones I wanted to show was this, the watershed and water sampling map. Our watershed folks have spent a lot of time to help us with creating this. And we have a new tool here, which is the query tool. And I could search for any lake in Muskoka. I'm going to search for Clear Lake and apply that search. And we have two, but I'm going to go to the one in the township, Muskoka Lakes. And if I see this, I could click on it and it'll give me two things. It'll give me the actual watershed of that particular lake, but it'll also give me the details about that sample point. And if I click this more information tab again, it'll take us to the watershed water web, Muskoka water web page on this lake. It tells you the surface depth, the area, the Secchi depth, phosphorus, and 30 years worth of data, all with a couple clicks. So we've done a lot of integration of in the GeoHub to other data, to other maps, and with a few clicks, the public can certainly get a lot of information available to them. The other thing I'd point out here would be these other story maps. These are special maps. The Muskoka Watershed Report Card, the algae monitoring. These are unique maps to this new environment that we're working in now that provide a lot more than just maps. And it's worth taking your time to look at those if you haven't had a chance. But it would be, I'd like to end on the last two items here quickly. It would be foolish of me not to mention the Township of Muskoka Lake zoning maps in doing a presentation to the Township of Muskoka Lakes. So here it is. This is, we've been doing a lot of editing and maintaining for district area municipality staff for quite some time. And the Township of Muskoka Lakes zoning is one of the first ones we've ever done. But I could search and find a property. I could click on it. It will give us our standard parcel fabric information. But what we've done here is provided access to the public to the zoning information. And that hyperlink, again, will provide the user with access to the permitted uses on that zone. You can see the chart, a table from the zoning bylaw on what is permitted, what isn't, as well as all the zoning setbacks and requirements. So we're giving a lot of information to the public on that click, but they've also provided access to the special exemption bylaws. So here's the actual bylaw from 2014, and public can access that with a couple clicks as well. So we're giving a lot of access to the public, saving staff time to answer some simple questions. And we're looking forward to expanding those features to the other area municipalities that we're providing zoning mapping to. The other quick tool that is helpful to staff who are doing site visits, or maybe to the public or delivery companies, is this tool. You could actually do a search get some directions by clicking on the map or putting in your home base or your location, and it will give you the directions on how to get to that particular location anywhere in Muskoka. It gives you the details. You could print this, you could save it, or you could use it on the phone. All of the maps that I'm showing you here today are accessible through your mobile device out in the field, your cell phone, your tablet. And one of the cool features that people use is this button here. It's called My Location. So you don't need to do a search and find. You could just click that and it'll find you exactly where you are, and it'll track your movement in your truck or your car, and it'll show you where you're locating. The last thing I wanted to show you today, because we're running out of time, is something that we've been working on with some of our other area municipalities. As I said earlier, we've been doing GIS support to area municipalities for the last decade or longer. And we've been working a lot with the fire departments. And recently we've been working with the town of Gravenhurst Fire Department. And this is a link here I've saved that takes us to their internal web map at the township, at the town of Gravenhurst. And they've asked us to map all of their incidents, the fire incidents in the last year. And what we've been able to do is to put this on the map, provide these custom symbols, and identify by color if the map is year to date or the last month. But what's really cool with this is a map that we've created in the GeoHub, but we've embedded it in their web page. So the public looking for information on that website can find our web mapping information fairly quickly and efficiently. And you could zoom around like a web application, you could zoom in, you could click on one of these, and you could get the information associated to that particular fire call. And the reason why I wanted to show that to you today is that we think that there's a lot more applications that we could do for the public, for area municipalities, in terms of integrating GeoHub tools and ability to be able to give that out in other formats, like the story maps, like a base map, or like an embedded map on their website. So that we think that there's more improvement that we could do on that. So that's what I planned on presenting to you today. We didn't have time to get into the internal version here, but there's literally hundreds of additional GIS layers available to internal staff to do their job. And if anybody who doesn't have a username and password, they can certainly access that by sending us, or get that from us by sending us an email. At the bottom here is the gisinfo@muskoka.on.ca email address, and they could send us an email saying who they are and they need a password. We'll send it right to them so they could access the internal version of the Muskoka GeoHub site. So that's what I had planned on presenting. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Good. Thank you very much. Excellent presentation, and quite a wow, isn't it? It's like getting PlayStation 8 for Christmas. Well done, and it's certainly why some of council, certainly all of council, had requested you to participate. So thank you very much for that. I might ask, just because I do want to give you considerable time on this, because it's a great addition to our toolbox. That would be, clearly you would understand the economic benefits to this. In fact, it would have been a business case made for this update. It looks considerable in terms of depth and breadth of scope. Can you just take a few minutes and sort of give us a sense of economic benefits, the economic benefits of this? And I know you've touched on them throughout your pitch, but are there a few you could just distill down, a few salient points that we could all take away as, from that perspective, Graham?
That's a great question. We haven't really done, a formal economic benefit analysis, but being in the business for the last 20 years, I could say that the main benefit that we see with GIS generally, and maps and specifically like this, is we're giving people who need the information access to current up-to-date data. Everybody's looking at the same version of this data, either at the area municipalities, at the district, for the public. Everybody's viewing the same version, the same data, and the decisions that need to be made are being made on correct or current data. We like to think that the access to correct information, you're going to get the best decision the first time. You're going to save money, you're going to save time, you're going to be able to access this information quickly and efficiently. So the main economic benefit that I perceive is the ability to find the information you need quickly and efficiently, and making the right decision the first time based on that information that you require. And just to add to that, what we're showing you is our best first kick at the can.
Right.
We've spent a lot of time and effort to give you this information and the information within the area municipalities internal version. But by no means are we complete or finished. There's many more GIS layers that you have that we don't. There's many more GIS layers that are out there that need to be created and added. And we want to work with you and all the area municipalities to make this better every day. We've already done 24 improvements and changes since we launched, and we're happy to take more suggestions and requests and additions to make it even more valuable, more helpful to use.
Good, thank you very much. Excellent. I'm going to turn it over now to committee. If the committee has some thoughts, comments, observations, perhaps we can change the screen back to committee. See a show of hands. Anyone? Gord, then Peter Kelly. Gord, Councillor Roberts.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I attended the first public meeting and found it to be a very exciting tool. I've been working with the district for many, many years on their different layer maps and using it for our lake. And I found this one great in what it offers, and I can get down the information. Recently, last week, I had a call from a constituent up in Skeleton Lake asking questions about his property. And he really didn't know, other than his address, where he was. And so and even then I couldn't find it, but I got into GeoMap. I got a picture of Skeleton Lake, and he took me up through some narrows, and by his explaining, I zoomed right in on his property. And then I was able to take that information using a snippet and send it off to Terry to get the information that the constituent wants. I think it's a great tool going through. I'm getting great support from the district. I believe that going forward, the planning department will embed this into our planning documents, so that we can actually, rather than go and using Google or whatever, we can actually click and find the information and the property. So that's basically, I encourage everyone to get in and play with it, but you'll need time. But if you stay at the high level and don't get too deep, it'll be a very valuable tool. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Other committee comments? Councillor Kelly, Peter Kelly.
Thank you, and through you, first to you, Chair Zavitz, you might want to run and make sure that sign's down before Clerk Mortimer gets over there and finds it. Strange fluke, but to the presenter, to Graham, just a phenomenal job, just a great tool. Tons of information, really well delivered, and your presentation was really well made as well. You may have already sort of answered this, but I'm curious to know whether updates are done, whether updates to the data that's represented by those maps is done in a batch sort of basis, or is it just done trickle as information comes in, you're able to go in and bring it up to date?
Excellent question. It depends upon the data. We have certain layers that are automatically updated every night or every day. We have staff that are editing our road center line or our civic address point file. Internally, we have a ton of information on public works data, water and sewer infrastructure. They are updated daily, and those updates are reflected on the map every night. Other layers are updated on a as needed basis. So we manually refresh them and run them and update it when changes occur. And other layers, like our parcel fabric, are done on a pretty standard 4-month sequence or update schedule. So when those records become changed, we reflect that and push it out to the web. So we're doing our best to automate that too. So we don't need to do it necessarily ourselves. The computer does that at 2 o'clock in the morning with a scheduled task, which is fantastic. So we're literally pushing out, hundreds of changes every day automatically without having to touch it. So it's pretty slick that way.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Mayor Harding has his hand. Thank you for that, Graham. So Mayor Harding has his hand up, as does Councillor Roberts.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks, Graham, for the information. I've been using the old version and a variety of different versions. It's nice to have it all in one place and with some other new features. Pardon me. 3 quick questions I have. On the floodplain mapping, where you do the elevation, could there be a hyperlink or a link to the actual current water levels? And I think, we pull that, so I'm not sure if it's on there, but it might be just a little version 2.0. Might be, hey, here's where I'm at right now, and the property owner then could understand. The second question I have is the internal version. I've always used the public-facing version. What additional information do I get as councillor or whatever internally that the public wouldn't get? Is there anything secret and private? So I just need to understand that. And then the only third thing I notice regularly, the property fabric outline is oftentimes offset to the image. My own particular property, it goes through my buildings, and I know my setbacks are appropriate. Why is that, and how is that, or how do we correct that, I guess, going forward?
I can answer all of those questions. It's not the first time I've heard any of them. The first one, the floodline. We did look at this a few months ago, and we just didn't have the capability of getting access and linking the current water levels to the maps. There might be something that we can simply add to the map that would give a hyperlink to the source of where that's coming from. Maybe it's MNRF, maybe it's another source. But just like at the top of the page, there was links to pages, we could add more links. And if there's a link to that source data, then people could go to it, as opposed to try to integrate it right on the map, if you know what I mean. So that would be...
I just, where you open up a window, this is the elevation 225.9, you could click a button, this is the current elevation, another hyperlink to whatever I think is appropriate. And it is my understanding it's all MNRF data.
Okay, so we could work on trying to add that link to the top of the floodline mapping page. And I think that might be a good solution. So the internal version we've had for the last decade for district staff and area municipality staff. The difference is 2 things. Number one, it has sensitive data, which it has personal information that not everybody can see. So it's sensitive because it's ownership and individual information that we simply cannot provide to the public or others. But it also has information that isn't yet available to the public. It's GIS layers that are internally used for internal decision-making that isn't open data or isn't available to the public on a general basis. We are trying to make more of our data available to the public. And at the bottom of the GeoHub site is our open data page, which I didn't mention earlier, that people can download, people can access, and people can look and see the data themselves, where it's considered open data. But many of the data sets in the internal version aren't considered open. And that's why we've got a username and password for those users who need it to do their job, can access those two data sets. And the parcel fabric. Absolutely, there's shifts and inaccuracies in the parcel fabric. We get the parcel information from MPAC and TerraNet. We cannot edit it. We don't own it. We don't make changes to it. But what we do is send a whole bunch of changes to them to correct it. And if you have an area of the township that is definitely shifted, then we've asked staff to tell us where those shifts are, and the public. We've had lots of requests, and we've literally sent in thousands of properties to MPAC and TerraNet, asking them to shift it 10, 20, 30, 40 meters in order to be more in line. So we continue to do that, and we could certainly do that on your behalf. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you. All great answers.
Thank you, Graham. I do see that Councillor Roberts has his hand up. Gordon, then we'll.
Yeah,
Thank
through you,
you.
Chair. Through you, Chair. Thank you very much. Just quickly, the one thing I forgot. On the topographical map, when you get in and you click on the property and you have that pop-up property information, you're fully aware of this. And I know this is an application, but if there's any way to move that pop-up information, and you're smiling because you know about it, but I thought I'd give it to you, move it over so you can, so that would be very beneficial, but I understand that might not be possible.
It is on our Muskoka GeoHub 2.0 version list, along with a couple others. I can suggest to you, though, that there is a property report tool at the top right. If you'd like to investigate that, you'll be able to get all the information without it covering up the map. You might want to try that, the property report. So we do have a plan B until we figure out how to do some of these other improvements.
Okay, good. Thank you. And I see no other hands. I see no other comments. I'd like to simply thank you from all of us. Certainly, what an excellent tool. Nice to see us moving forward. Progress being made. Thank you. From a staff perspective, I mean, there's all kinds, a myriad of uses, personal. People can go on and view. I love where the mayor is going with the water levels scenario, because that's something that's plaguing us. Thank you very much for your time, Graham. Time well spent. Oh, I need you to make Cheryl, our clerk, the host. I guess that's a technical, you can do that. Oh, he's all his technical ability, he doesn't know how to do that. Graham.
So I have control here. Wow.
Yeah, the mothership.
I don't have that functionality. So Cheryl, I'm clicking on the More tab at the bottom of my screen, and it just says Stop Live Stream. I can't. Oh, maybe I'll go here. Hang on a second.
We actually have a Mortimer tab.
Wow.
No.
So maybe we could take a slight recess to sort this out, and we can get the other delegate.
Yeah, okay. So listen, again, Graham, thank you for your time. What we'll do is take a real short pause, perhaps
Graham, stay on.
5 minutes. Graham, if you could please stay on. Oh, Graham, please stay on. Okay, you're still there. And then we'll see everyone back here at, let's say, 10:10, just to let us reboot, reset.
There you go.
Thank you, and we'll have our safe.
Yeah, Cheryl, I think you're the host again.
Oh, okay. Well, would you still like?
Yeah, but she wasn't able to. She wasn't.
Okay, so I guess we are back in the groove. Okay, you know what? Let's take 10 minutes. So at 10:10, please come on back, and we'll welcome Colleen Kennedy in her presentation. There she is. Thank you.
Thank you. You're the host again.
Oh, okay. Well,
There you go.
what was Peter saying? Peter,
I don't know.
I think he was saying I was second up to Cheryl. You know what? Let's take 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Can everybody hear me? Okay, we're having a few technical difficulties on our end here, so please bear with us.
Yeah, the host won't let me back in. I don't know why. I guess I don't have a funny shirt on like Gord.
This is not a funny shirt. I paid big dollars for this new suit.
So did Will Ferrell in Elf.
That maybe makes it funnier.
And if I'm not mistaken, Councillor Edwards is actually in the meeting. It's just his video's off.
Yeah. Look up, way up.
I will send invitations to people to start videos. I just shut everybody's videos off because we couldn't flip over to a common screen and everybody was still live. So I will go and ask to start videos for people.
May I also suggest that if those in the council chambers can hear me, sometimes some muting could occur.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a little more conversation that happens that we hear that perhaps we're not meant to hear.
Right.
It's amazing that Ryan can hold that smile the whole meeting and not even move. It's incredible.
Yes. Yeah, and look at the shine on his head.
Oh.
Just have to think about that fancy sweater.
It's going up on eBay, so if you want to buy it.
You know my wife with auctions, Gord.
It actually has lights.
Okay, so you can hear me now? Ken, good. So apologize for any verbal interplay you may have heard. It's minus 13 outside. We have bugs inside, so we're just trying to work through that. I apologize.
We can start now, can we?
Oh, okay. I do think we are okay to commence again. Thank you. So I want to welcome Colleen, although I feel like we're all friends by now.
Yes. Thank you so much, Blair.
And so I certainly want to invite you to present your yearly update to the General Finance Committee of the Township. I just want to ask, are we prepared here to share the screen? Okay, so we're good to share the screen with you, Colleen, and as soon as you're comfortable. Okay, so Cheryl Mortimer, our clerk, is going to direct that.
Yeah, really soon. There you go.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. Oh, thank you all so much for having me here. I apologize for the technical glitches. I even turned off my heater, so the furnace, and I know it's cold out, in case it comes on, to be as audio friendly as possible. And I'm sorry to have followed your amazing mapping system. I can't wait to get that public front, get in there and see some things. But really here to give you an update. I know many of you know about our work at Safe Quiet Lakes. Just going to give you an overview of the last few months. Last time I was here was March 11th, I believe, pre-pandemic, and I was able to meet with you in person, and I thank you for your support so far, and I'm going to take you through some things. So I also want to thank the Muskoka Lake the township for your financial support, your support with the VOR signs that we sent out, the community guide that you allow us to be. We feel that we are great partners, and we want to continue that. So as you know, we are a data-driven organization. We've done surveys in 13 and 17, and we're going to do another one hopefully coming up this year. And our mission is to make Muskoka Lake safer, quieter, and ensure the sustainable enjoyment of this shared, treasured resource, really focusing on the word shared these days, knowing that it's going to take grassroots conversation and education because we don't have all of the legislation that we need to affect the change that we want. So trying to just make sure we're making Muskoka a better place. So if you could go to the next slide. So we have an action plan. In all of our data on our surveys, we have found that safety, noise, wakes, and boat traffic are the main complaints and concerns of people who can participate. So it drives our core activities, which are outreach and education, advocacy, and building partnerships with people like yourselves. We work with the OPP, municipalities, other lake associations. We have worked with not just the MLA, but Moon River, Skeleton Lake, Penwood Road, the Ratepayers Association, Royal Muskoka, 3 Mile Lake, lots of places in this area that we support and help bring safe boating ideas and advocacy to those regions. So just some of the highlights this year, we, as you know, faced a lot of changes due to the pandemic. Some of the live events and kickoffs and things that we wanted to do, we couldn't. So we, the word of the year, pivoted to webinars and online sessions. We were still able to get all of our cards throughout Muskoka marinas. We did virtual association presentations. We increased our monthly newsletters, a newsletter to monthly to get more information out to those concerned. We had the highest ever attendance at our stakeholders meeting this year, and I think a lot of you joined us, so thank you so much. We also had our first Share the Lakes Award we presented to John Bowlby, and with the MLA we placed 4 ads in Muskokan. So really, as you all know, this year was more important than ever for our work, with more boats, more PWCs, more accidents. So we want to continue to build on this for next season. And we have also and had deployed 2 new initiatives. The next one being, if you go to the next slide, the one that I talked to you about in March, the Wakes and Speed project, we piloted along the Indian River and Mirror Lake. Some of you may have seen some of the signs. Thank you for the VOR signs that you gave. And we really want to see this program rolled out throughout more of Muskoka and maybe even the rest of Ontario. We believe that consistent signage is going to help. We're still testing it, and I know that this is not as aggressive as some of you mentioned back in March. So we have another survey out asking about sign design and some of the other things, but we really believed, sorry, if you go to the next slide on the wakes and speed. Oh, no, sorry. I'm following along. So we really believe that this project, the Wakes and Seeds project, is going to help us moving forward. And we really hope to deploy it with your help in wider regions across Muskoka. And then the Decibel Coalition is a response to loud boating throughout our region. We know that there's more and bigger boats coming, and there is no real federal legislation that allows us to, or the OPP to enforce it. So we are building a broad coalition across Canada. We have participation in BC, Quebec, and stewards, and we're going to begin advocacy in at Ottawa to hopefully bring about some legislation that will help us change this and allow the OPP and others to have some more tools to help mitigate this. I know that they will be coming to talk to you a little bit further about TML's participation and perhaps with this project, whether it being support just through a letter or other ways, but I know that this is something that's going to continue. So we really hope that you'll partner with us in summer 2021 so we can expand the Wakes and Speech project and really work on the Decibel Coalition. We want to expand our impact and show the township support through our work through our grant program. So thank you. We will reapply for another grant next year, and you can see we're doing great work with it. And as we go across the province and across the region, we hold you up as a standard, as a key partner, that you were with us from the beginning, and we really want to continue that story as we try to expand and help everyone share our treasured resources. So with that, I wonder if and of course, these are all our sponsors, and we hope to continue building on our great work. And with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. I'm sorry, I can't hear Counselor.
Line's on mute.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, sorry. I hate to say, can you hear me now? That's the last time I'm ever using that term. I want to thank you very much, Colleen, for all that information. And of course, we are partners, and that's a long-term commitment, I do believe. In a recent foray into facts and information, just a week or so ago, one noticed that half of the township of Muskoka Lakes is water. And it almost prompts one to think safer, quieter lakes, given the experiential pieces to COVID and the weight, the pressure of people on the water, and that whole code of conduct as well. So this is a topic close to my heart. We boat a lot, and we need you, and we need others to chime in and support. So I see a hand up, Councillor Kelly.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Colleen. Great presentation. At the risk of repeating a little bit of what the chairman just said, I'm sure that this task seems a little bit daunting from time to time, and I want you to know, not just as a councillor, but as a waterfront resident, at least for part of the year, it's very comforting to know that you and your team are there. And I think we need to acknowledge that. And I think we need to acknowledge the other partners other than the Township of Muskoka Lakes that are fighting that good fight. So thank you very much, and keep it up.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor Bridgman.
Thank you, Chair Zavitz, through you. Colleen, it is a great presentation. I have a question for you. In terms of going into certain bays, and you said you work with lake associations, do you need a formal association group Or can you organize people within a bay to come to you and hopefully put in some programs to cut down on the wakes?
So this summer, I was lucky to be able to spend the whole summer at the cottage. So I went around to many people who were reaching out who just had issues in their small bay, or you know, I was talking to people on the Moon River on some of the signage and concerns that they have. So we are willing to work with anyone. Of course, an association and it being a bit more formalized makes it easier. But I have also I dropped off signs across the region and I'm willing to help anyone that can. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Mazan.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Just echoing a lot of the comments already made. Great presentation and great work. And quite frankly, it's been great having your organization to direct a lot of comments and questions to. So as a councillor on Lake Muskoka this summer, with the sheer volume of people and the safety issues that did occur, it was really nice to have that resource and know that there's a body that I could direct people who are interested in getting involved and engaged. And also the second one is the volume, the Decibel Coalition. It's, you know, for the close to 4,500 property owners on Lake Muskoka, this is a significant issue. And I know that there's lots of interest. And so I can't remember who just asked, finding a way to help us organize and direct people so it's not all to Mr. Bosmuth, that we could actually have a space to direct that energy, because there is a lot of interest in understanding how to move forward. And then my second question, the last slide indicates, or the second last slide, the different levels of sponsorship. And if you could kindly remind me what is the premier sponsor, Platinum and Gold?
I believe the MLA premier sponsor is providing $5,000 a year at the premier sponsor, and then Platinum was $2,500, and I believe Gold is $1,500.
Thank you, and thanks again for all your great work.
Thank you. I'm really excited as we grow and expand. We have a almost full-time employee. You may not be aware of Lauren Cochran, and she lives in Gravenhurst, and she's doing an amazing job helping us. So you can probably funnel more people through to her, and that will help as we try to scale up and help more people.
Good, thank you.
That is very helpful, and I think it builds upon what Councillor Bridgman was just talking about as well. When there's groups of people, if we can help organize those groups to then connect with the appropriate person, that makes for a much more powerful voice, I guess. So thank you. Thanks again for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll call on Councillor Roberts, then Hayes, and then I'll call on Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I'm interested in knowing or understanding if you actually have a champion within the federal government that is going to work with the coalition to push this through, push our interest through to legislation. Do you have, or are they just paying, sorry to say, just lip service to it right now?
So right now, we're building, thank you so much for your question. We're building our coalition. We haven't made any real formal forays into the federal government. We are going to hire an advocacy group, a firm to help us when we make our initial act. So that I know that we're building, that's what we need to make a national case. So we have strong support in BC and on Quebec. So now we're working on the East Coast, and we really need to crack Manitoba. And once we think we have that national, we can approach and with our advocacy firm make but so no, we don't have a formal friend yet, but it's not lip service yet either.
Somewhere in between. Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Hayes?
Yes, thank you for the information. That was very good. I was one of the councillors that did send people your way this summer, and I did hear back from some of them. They were quite pleased with the information they got for you and the professional manner in which it was delivered. So keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for sending people our way.
Thank you. Councilor Nishikawa.
Sorry. Thank you. I think it's more of a question, but what we observed, the most challenging thing I think that we observed on the lake this year was the rentals of jet skis, or whatever term you want to use for them. And in fact, such recklessness, like unbelievable recklessness. And, you know, in just speaking to a few of those that would land on whatever location that I knew was being rented, there was a real lack of respect and total disregard. And I guess my concern or question is really reaching out to those that are renting this equipment. And my understanding as well is that we also had companies that just popped up this year that you know, in fact, really didn't have a stake in Muskoka at all. And I'm wondering, how do you reach out to them? And I know that's a challenging question, but I just wanted to put it out there. Thank you.
Thank you. We certainly heard a lot and saw a lot of the impacts of the increase in personal watercraft. We had lots of questions about them at our webinars. And it's certainly something that we need to help. In terms of rentals, you're right. We know we have deep roots in Jane's and the popular ones, and we distribute the boaters code, and we hope that renters get those. Of course, we are not reaching every Airbnb, and we will continue to look to those people that are renting and hope to communicate some better safety knowledge. But you're right, there was a lot of lack of respect. And so hopefully we can keep building that in the grassroots way. And, you know, I think in the future, we need to look to the personal watercraft, the operator's card that the government gives out, and maybe changes to that. As you know, renters don't need one. They do not need a license. So there's lots of gaps in our policies and legislations, but we'll keep working on it.
Good, thank you. We'll hold you to that. We'll support you. Is there any other comment? Oh, there's Mayor Harding. Go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you, Colleen. Obviously, awesome your work. The advocacy you guys continue to do, and it's striking me as we move forward here, especially with more people spending time on the water under COVID times, that it's probably worth a paragraph or more in our tax newsletter that will come out. And so I'll coordinate with you a little bit some of the key messages that you would want to put forward. And my promise would be to integrate that into our either the January, February one, or potentially the June. The June might be a little bit more relevant and right top of mind in the summertime. So, but we'll work together on some appropriate messaging for that. So hopefully that helps as well.
I would love that. That's a great idea. The more people we can hopefully expose to those messages, the better. And we appreciate if anyone wants to give us a full page in the community guide, we would take that as well instead of the half page we have right now.
Good, thank you. And that's people working together. So excellent presentation. Thank you for your time. Sorry for the glitches this morning. And
thank you so much, and happy holidays, all of you. Thank you for all your great work commitments during the pandemic. We appreciate your hard work.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Okay.
You too. We're going to move on now to item 5A, which is Public Works. We have a report from Ken Becking, the Director of Public Works, regarding the Torrance Barrens Working Group, item 5A. Ken, you there? You have the floor, sir.
I am, Your Worship, or Mr. Chairman, rather. I think the report essentially speaks for itself. I think Chair Nishikawa is a natural choice, and that is the staff recommendation.
Good, thank you. Any questions, comments from the committee? Any thoughts on either the presentation this morning from Mr. Silver and or Ken's comments just now and the report? We've heard it. I don't see any commentary. There's no hands up. Okay, good. I'm going to read a resolution. Moved by Councillor Bridgman, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council that the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks be advised that the township's representative on the proposed Torrance Barrens Working Group is Councillor Ruth Nishikawa, and that the Director of Public Works is also available to provide the working group with technical advice. All those in favor?
That's carried.
Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Okay, Cheryl. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Thank you, Ken. I'm going to ask you to stay on the floor and speak to the District Road 169 proposed active transportation enhancements and the report that was pages 30 to 32. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As indicated in the report, there's been a meeting between township representatives and representatives from the town of Gravenhurst. There's an interest on the part of the parties to see active transportation paved shoulders on Road 169 from Torrance east to Gravenhurst. The district has a policy that will put those in place at the time of rehabilitation of the road. The road is not currently slated for rehabilitation within the reasonably foreseeable future. Committee can consider several options. You can stick with the current schedule and allow the district to proceed as and when they will. Second option would be to pass a resolution to encourage them to accelerate the rehabilitation of those sections of road and thereby incorporate the paved shoulders into the work. And the third alternative would be to request the district to rehabilitate the relevant sections as soon as possible. This is permissible under the district's policy. However, it would require that the township pay 50% of the estimated cost. And for the committee's information, that would mean that the township share would be somewhere in the order of $188,000. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Good, thank you. Committee? If I had a question, it would be just for clarification. This is both sides of Highway 169 to Gravenhurst from Torrance.
Mr. Chairman, that's both sides of the road within the township boundaries.
Right, okay, good, thank you. Okay, Councillor Nishikawa, oh, I'm sorry, I've got you covered. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say uncover me, but no, I don't know. I just wanted to speak on this. Historically, when we wanted district to do something, we would have to pass a resolution from our council. District has made some, I would say, improvements over the years to that active transportation lane, I suppose. But I do believe that whatever we would like to see, we should always have done by resolution. So that when the road gets rehabilitated, and by the way, I would be in favor of option 2 or B, if we want to call it that. It would just be important when the rest of us are gone, that in fact that resolution was still in place for the benefit of the municipality going forward, in case, for instance, directions do change at district. It's been an interesting meeting of the minds with councillors from Gravenhurst and what their view and vision going forward with, again, our ultimate goal is also to try to connect Muskoka Lakes to the Great Trail, which of course everyone knows goes across the country. They have an access, we don't. So we should all be part of joining communities with each other through a trails network. That's where we're going. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Any other comments? I would ask again through to Director Becking. I'm presuming that Gravenhurst is concurrent with our thinking. They're going to carry on the rest of the way. Is that part and parcel, or Ruth, one of you that has been involved?
I would say that their resolution, which is similar to, like, we're basically copying their resolution, but their resolution won't come forward until January, as their Director of Public Works was not available for their meeting this year, and they want to bring that forward in January. But again, it is a situation that we're not asking to accelerate necessarily, but just don't forget us.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, thank you, and appreciate the input. So we have Mayor Harding and then Councillor Hayes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Councillor Nishikawa, for bringing this forward. I guess my question is, if we're not asking for accelerated timing, we just want to make sure it's on the radar and that it's, appropriate when there. The recommendation says to accelerate the timing.
Right.
And I also, even if I look at the 2 or 3 options plan schedule, then there's request early rehab or request a rehab as soon as possible. I guess I'm just trying to figure out, backing up to the words of the actual report, are we really like maintain a plan schedule and hopefully bumping up the priority list a little bit as required? But, I think generally that's where it is, just to flag to the district that the Township of Muskoka Lakes, when this road is being done, to remember that we need added transportation shoulders on it for cycling.
Thank you. We'll hold that thought because we will come back to that. Councillor Hayes.
Yes, we had discussed this several years ago, and unfortunately parts of Road 30 were done, and because we didn't request it when they were doing the engineering, it was going to be extremely expensive to have done as an afterthought, and we would be responsible for all of it. So for our district roads, could we not put on the district's radar that we would, whenever they're redeveloped, we would like the shoulders paved out for active transportation on any of the district roads? Okay.
Thank you for that. Yeah, because I think as we look at options, if you will, A, B, and C, I personally would probably not be in support of spending a few $100,000 at this point in time with the condition of some of our other roads that we would want to be talking about later. In terms of that, I think A and B, I do have a resolution here, as you would know, that does request the district to accelerate the timing of the rehab on that stretch of road. I guess I need to understand. I'll go back to the mayor here on this for perhaps clarification or.
Thank you. And I think just to understand, to Councillor Hayes' perspective on Walker's Point Road in particular, those people may remember we did Peninsula Road recently, and where we try to get a full meter of paved shoulder. Sometimes the geometry of the road has excessive costs to do so. And I think that's more so the road base wasn't really there in Walker's Point, so it would have had to have been expanded to support it. So where possible, they add as much or close to a meter as that we can, without adding huge excessive costs along the way. And I think that's sort of where the district gets gone. Ultimately, it is a huge undertaking to manage all the district roads, our own township roads. We all know, I don't think there's a councillor on the Zoom call that hasn't had a constituent saying, my road's in worse shape, it needs to be done. And, or the district road is in worse shape and it needs to be done. And at the end of the day, Director Becking's the one in Muskoka Lakes that has to do the prioritization that says this one's coming first. And when you get to drive some of those other roads. Circling back to paving the shoulder on 169, generally speaking, we have the shoulder to pave a meter. And when the road gets done, it would be done. I like the concept to remind district. And as Councillor Hayes says, when possible and affordable, that we do request all district roads to have a paved shoulder for cycling. And I think that is probably the better wording slightly of the resolution as a go forward for any road that is being done within the township of Muskoka Lakes.
Good, thank you. Thank you, thank you, sir. I'm going to actually go to the CAO for just a moment for a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My understanding, and perhaps Director Becking can confirm this, with respect to 100 series highways, which 169 is one, I believe that the district policy, because it's part of their active transportation program and it's a planned route, the widening of shoulders would not be, through that program, would not be an expense to the municipality. However, if we were to request that all of the district roads through the township be widened for such purposes, there will be budget implications to the township to pay for our portion thereof. So that might expand the costs, infrastructure portion costs in our capital forecast, but perhaps Mr. Becking can confirm my understanding.
Thank you. Director
Mr.
Becking.
Chairman, the CAO is correct. My understanding is that the policy only applies to the 100 series highways, and anything above and beyond that would be at the expense of the township.
Okay, Mayor Harding.
Just to chime in, there are some specific and specified active transportation routes on roads. Those are included automatically. It's when we get out of the active transportation route that there may be some cost implications. I don't believe, however, that we should not be requesting this. It is a understanding that when any road is redone, if possible, without a cost to the lower tier, that we are adding additional bike lanes on all district roads to do so. Not only is it safer for bicycle traffic, but it is also better for the long term of the road. The shorter the road base, the sooner it deteriorates. So when we add that meter, we actually get greater life out of the actual road base. So yes, the policy says only active transportation, but there's sort of an underwritten that where possible, it's an automatic that it's expanded. If they have to blast, and we're saying, as in Walker's Point Road, we need a full 1 meter done, then there would be a cost to the municipality.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm going to ask Councilor Nishikawa, then Hayes, and then I'll read this resolution if that works for the group.
I'm going to respectfully ask that this resolution does not get changed or watered down. This was specifically about connecting Muskoka Lakes to Gravenhurst and active transportation. We can try to include everything and anything, but that would get us, it wouldn't get us to the point what we're trying to achieve from a recreation perspective in joining with a municipality. And in fact, in my history with, and I'm sure the mayor can correct me, but don't take the time to do so. That you know, when we were looking at Huntsville linking to Lake of Bays, for instance, and Brunel Road was one example, for instance, that that also created them some economic development opportunities through some of their marathon type races and things. So I don't want to change this resolution because we are trying to be in line with Gravenhurst as well for this particular project. There's lots we can add on, but please don't water this particular one down because it's what we can tackle at this time. And also, I am also looking at funding in various ways. I have been in touch with other municipalities across the country. And interestingly enough, they got federal money. So I'm just looking at the possibilities, but please don't water this particular resolution down. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to call on Councillor Hayes and then Councillor Edwards, Councillor Jaglowitz.
Yes, I would like to agree fully with Councillor Nishikawa. That's what I was going to say. A resolution to do other district roads would be a separate resolution in the future. And I would certainly support number 2, a request for an earlier rehabilitation timing. And well done.
Fair enough. Okay, Councillor Edwards, go ahead, and then Councillor Jaglowitz, and then we'll read that resolution.
I was just going to actually agree with that. I think we should have 2 separate resolutions for that. And I would go for option 2 as well. So thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor Jaglowitz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is actually a general comment on this subject. At least I don't have a copy of that resolution in my agenda package. And I've noticed in the past, this seems to be similar. Is it possible in the future that whether a resolution is prepared in advance, that they're part of the package? Because it takes us, those of us that haven't been directly involved, a while to really understand what the resolution is. So that would be my request. Thank you.
I'm gonna I'm gonna pick somebody here. I might ask our clerk Cheryl Mortimer for a comment if she would be so kind. Putting her on the spot, but.
Good morning. The resolution is in the agenda package as under the recommendation of the staff report. I can bring it up on the screen if you so wish.
Page 30 of your agenda package.
Thank you. I'll take a look at it. Thank you.
Okay, so you can see it there. As that staff recommendation reads, I have a resolution to that effect here.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. That's totally my error. I didn't look at the top, and I apologize to all. Thank you.
That's fine, and I guess I'll just wait for the screen to come back. I sense where we're going with this. I just perhaps would look at each of you to perhaps nod heads. I know Ward A is obviously going to be supportive. There's Councillor Bridgman, others, Councillor Edwards. Okay, good. So I do believe that we have consensus that I should read this resolution. And thank you for the commentary. That was good dialogue back and forth. Moved by Councillor Jaglowitz, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council that the District of Muskoka be requested to accelerate the timing of the rehabilitation of District Road number 169 from its intersection with District Road number 13, Southwood Road, to the Township Town of Gravenhurst boundary, and that the installation of paved shoulders for active transportation purposes be included in the design of the projects. All those in favor? Show of hands. Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you, committee. Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to call on, so thank you, Director Becking, for your commentary as it related to your 5A and 5B. I'm going to call on 6A here, Terry Guthrie, I believe, to speak to us regarding a license agreement, Broome, Yeldon, Rural 6-5-081.
Thank you, Chair. Before you today is a report about an application for a license agreement. It came to the attention of the township that a dwelling and septic system are located on an original road allowance. The property owners have applied for a license agreement to allow the encroachments to remain on the road allowance. Staff have no concerns with the application. The agreement will be for 20 years. The annual fee will be $600 for each of the first 5 years of the agreement. Liability insurance is required, naming the township as insured, and staff are recommending approval of the application. If you have any questions, I can answer them for you.
Okay, committee, any thoughts on that? Okay, I have a resolution in front of me here, moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council that the application for a license agreement for the encroachment of a dwelling and septic system situated on an original road allowance lying between concessions 7 and 8, lot 23, Wood, submitted by Susan Broome and Stephen Yeldon, Rural 6-5-081, be approved in accordance with Township Council Policy C-LS-07, and that a bylaw be given 3 readings and passed at a future council meeting to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute any documents required for the license agreement. All those in favor? Good, that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got Mark Donaldson here, our Director of Finance, regarding development charges fund reserve 2019. Mark, you've got the floor. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So the report before you is driven by a legislative requirement of the Development Charges Act. Talks and refers to 2019, further to the conclusion of our 2019 audit that were presented last month to Council. This is a required report that just outlines the sources and uses of funds of the development charge account in 2019. Study that was done in 2019 was charged against the account in that year. Certainly there is more current information in the latest quarterly report that would have been provided to the committee last month. But this report is just to fulfill that requirement to allow us to inform the ministry of the status of our account. Happy to take any questions.
Good, thank you. Committee, any comments? Okay, I'm seeing a shaking of heads. I'm going to read this resolution moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Hayes. Be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommended Township Council that the 2019 Development Charges Fund reserve transactions as outlined in the report of the Director of Financial Services dated December 16th, 2020 be approved. All those in favor? Good, that's unanimously carried. That is a long sentence, by the way. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your time and your report. Going to move on to item 7A, which is essentially accepting the minutes of the Public Library Board meeting held on October 13th, 2020. Thank you, Library, for that. Minutes of the Parks and Trails Committee meeting held on September 29, 2020. Certainly, Councilor Nishikawa is the chair of Parks and Trails. If you have any comments on that, I certainly welcome them if you so wish. If not, that's fine. Okay, good. So we're just going to move right on. Item 8A, we're going to accept the minutes of the Economic Development and Grants Committee meeting held on October 28th. Councillor Kelly, Chair Kelly of that committee, ECDev, do you have any observations or anything you want to share, or are you fine?
I think they're fairly self-explanatory. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And moving on to 8B, I'll call on Corey Moore, our Economic Development and Communication Specialist, for a updated municipal grants policy report. Thank you. Corey?
Thank you, your chair. So today's report provides committee a copy of the updated municipal grants policy. Our previous our meeting with our grants, our last meeting with our Grants and Economic Development Committee, we focused on preparing for 2021, and the upcoming budget process. With that, we reviewed the grants to organizations policy, and the committee has recommended that the General Finance Committee approve the updated policy attached in the report. Just to provide a little bit of a highlight to some of the updates in the policy, the committee may be aware our current policy has 3 streams of grant programs: community grants, festival and events, and operating grants. And the focus on updating the policy was really on streamlining the applicants, the process for applicants to apply, and to try to make it as easy as possible. So with that, we combined the community grants and event and festival grants into a single stream, and just titled it community grants moving forward, and we kept the operating grants the same as it is now. The thought process on this is it has one set of criteria, one set of guidelines, one application form for applicants to follow. Additionally, we also updated some of the accountability requirements in the program for successful applicants, and just some clarification on some wording on eligibility and submission and approval moving forward. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good, thank you. I guess the report and the appendix are self-explanatory. I use the terms clean and tidy. It seems like we've expedited some things, made it less cumbersome, easier to work with, and that's just good for everyone. Given that there are no comments, and I see none, I will move this resolution, moved by Councillor Bridgman, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council that the updated municipal grants policy attached as Appendix 1 to the report entitled Updated Municipal Grants Policy dated December 16th, 2020 be approved, and that staff be directed to include for Council's consideration requisite funds in the draft 2021 operating budget to support the community grants program. All those in favor? That's everyone. Okay, Councillor Nishikawa, did you? Good, yeah, thank you. Thank you, that's unanimous, of course.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Corey, appreciate it. Item 9, unfinished business. Has anyone got anything they'd like to bring forward under unfinished business? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business, which is item 10A. So District Municipality of Muskoka updates. I will let the mayor go first. I might just say, if I might position this, I would ask that we would hold for this afternoon's council meeting any comments on modernization at the district, if we might, just in that regard. So please proceed, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Busy last 30 days at the district, and a number of things all concerning that of Muskoka Lakes. November 18th was our engineering and public works. Number of sort of routine things, nothing major. The only one of significance for Township Muskoka Lakes is that we are requesting a lower speed on Muskoka Road 7 through the S curve in particular. We are going to be continuing the 50-kilometer zone north of Port Samfield, a little bit further north past the S curve. And I think it makes sense. There was also a motor vehicle accident there this week. And so hopefully we can slow some traffic down in that area. So that's going forward. On November 19th, there was a joint planning and engineering and public works meeting to talk about our Manette services review. And the official plan update for Manette. The concept was putting private services and allowing some residential. The committee and engineering and public works have rejected that. So circulation of the proposed amendment that we had provided to the district is not going to happen. And we'll be able to have a more fulsome discussion in planning department. But I believe that Mitch Goldar and his group will be coming back with some revisions to the OPA to discuss with our committee going forward. December 3rd, many people, actually, let me back up one. November 24th, I know there's a lot of people on Lake Muskoka in particular that have been very concerned about water levels. We've seen Lake Muskoka in particular in the last 10 years have never seen water levels as high as they were on December 1st. The water levels did start to recede and have gone down. They bounced up a little bit, but that sparked some concern the end of November. I contacted the Premier, and the Premier, myself, Minister Yakabuski, Minister of Natural Resource and Forestry, Minister Europe of the Environment, Minister of Environment, and our own MPP Norm Miller, we spent about an hour on the phone talking through all things watershed, Muskoka River Water Management Plan. Had some very good positive response from the Premier in particular, trying to get around some of the bureaucracy of many of the ministries. And he assured me that some things would move forward. He was going to try to attend our next meeting, which was December the 3rd. He unfortunately couldn't do it, and that was a communications meeting. Out of the flood advisor report from the MNRF, they have recommended a communications committee. So that meeting, the CIO and myself attended that meeting, and it was more of a let us tell you what we're going to tell you kind of a meeting. In discussion with the fellow mayors and reeves across the watershed, nobody was really satisfied coming out of that meeting other than we're being told more information, but nobody was really addressing the MRWMP. To that end, right now, I have sitting with all of the affected 13 municipalities under the Muskoka River Water Management Plan. We are just finalizing a joint letter from all of the mayors and reeves to go to the Premier and Minister Yakabuski, requesting some very specific changes to the MRWMP with some ideas for consideration for 2021 in particular to hopefully mitigate some flooding or potential flooding damages. Bottom line in all of that is a potential lowering of the water levels, the target zones to be lowered slightly, the high water zones to be lowered slightly, and they can come at us and say no or yes, but also included that is a complete reevaluation of the Muskoka River Water Management Plan. If the Premier and Minister Yakabuski fail to acknowledge that from all of us, then we will have a plan B that would be exercised as such early in January. Moving along, 4th of December, we had a joint engineering public works meeting with the financial group regarding our rate supported budget. And we have regarding solid waste, and we have basically are recommending a 6.3% increase on the rate supported budget for the district. Originally, they came in, the guideline was at 5%. They were coming in at about a 9-10%. But they've been able to work harder. And so we're recommending that to district council. There was also later that day a modernization meeting, and we're going to have some discussions later on today. We had made some recommendations to district council. The only one that district council approved, we tabled a few recommendations from that modernization. And if those councillors around the table, I know many of you did attend that meeting and watch it, but if you didn't, I encourage you to go back and look at it. The one request that we did exercise was we had Chair Klink request of Minister Clark, Municipal Affairs and Housing, a delay. We needed to have the response to the ministry back on modernization by, I believe it was December the 10th. We've requested till the end of March, saying we're working on this. We received back correspondence yesterday that Minister Clark has approved that extension. So we have a few months to work our way through some other recommendations, which gives everybody a little bit of a pause to make sure we get this right going forward. Also, we will be sort of convening other special meeting or maybe a section of our council meeting early in the new year and ahead of some of the district final decisions so that we can chime in ourselves as council at the lower tier. I do remind everybody ultimately though, upper tier district will make the decision, and then we can either say yes or no, we agree with it or we don't, and it requires that of a triple majority to be able to be implemented. And two options can happen if the triple majority is not met. Number one, Minister Clark can impose it himself and say this shall be, or we may sit with the exact same system we have right now. Who knows what's going to come out of that, but hopefully we can find consensus around district council to move some things forward. And I think that sort of brings us up to date, and that's sort of my report. Any questions?
Excellent report. Thank you so much. I'm going to call on Councillor Jagowitz for a comment, but I do know, if I might, Frank, just before you proceed, that there are a number of items on the agenda for this afternoon at council that you've touched on, and I would, again, let's have a more fulsome opportunity at that point in time. I'll call on Councillor Jagowitz.
Yes, Mr. Chair, my comment was not on that subject. It was a question for the mayor, and it had to do with the joint meeting of EPW and CPS that dealt with the Manette servicing issue. And I was interested to hear your comment that that possibly the developer was going to bring forward and have more discussions. And I was more interested, is that going to, do you believe that's at the district level or at the township level? And the reason I ask is because this, we at the township had approved an OPA XX to be circulated in conjunction with the district's OPA 49, which is now not going forward, and therefore I was looking for some direction as to how we would proceed on that matter.
Mayor?
Very much through the chair. Bottom line, my understanding, and I think Mr. Pink is on the line, but it is going to be that of a Township Muskoka Lakes OPA again. So Chair Bridgman from Planning will be back circulated, and we will reconvene that Manette working group, I believe, and then try and find an appropriate OPA, because our OPA theoretically didn't fly with the district because it required private servicing. So we need to go back and not ground zero, but just tweak and evolve. So the developer needs to be back in, and I'm not sure if they've had a conversation yet with Mr. Pink. I don't believe they have, when David and I spoke on this the other day.
I'm going to let Councillor Bridgman, or Chair Bridgman in that case, speak first, and then back to you, Frank, for a supplementary, and then we'll move on.
Thank you, Councillor Zavitz. That was not my question, which I will ask in a minute. But yes, I had already communicated to Mr. Pink and Mayor Harding that maybe we could do an informational update at the planning committee meeting tomorrow, just in terms of process, etc.
Good.
But my question through you, Chair, to Mayor Harding is, could we just get a copy of that letter you're sending out as all of the Reeves, and in terms of what you're looking for? I just like a copy of it, if you wouldn't mind sending it out once it's been signed and sealed.
100% it will be circulated to council.
Good, thank you. And Councillor Jagowitz, last word.
Actually, I appreciated Chair Bridgman's Chair of Planning by answer. I just would correct one thing. Our resolution did not require private services. My reading of it, it had the option for either or. So I'm encouraged that we're going to be discussing this tomorrow. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And at the risk of politicking, Mayor Harding, you know, I've been hard on you as it relates to the water for years, and I appreciate everything you're doing, and you're clearly moving this peanut forward, and it's a huge undertaking. It's a wonderful task that you're taking on, and I personally really appreciate how you're pulling it together. And I think it feels to me a little bit like the Torrance Barrens, where the mayors and Chair Klink exerted some pressure, created a persona with Queen's Park, and it's working. And you're on the phone with the Premier. Thank you for that, sincerely. Good, we'll move on now to Frank, Councillor Jagowitz, in terms of the district report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the mayor has covered a number of the joint meetings that I also attended, so I won't cover them. One thing I will raise, I did attend a webinar from MPAC, the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, and there they were updating us on some things coming down the pipeline, and they indicated that for 2021, they're going to be allowing a tax relief for small businesses through the municipal property assessment. In other words, by way of creating an optional subclass for small businesses where we would have the authority to have a reduced rate. And there was some indication that the province might actually match that reduction by way of reducing the education tax accordingly. So I think it's something, if our staff is not aware of it, that's maybe something we should look into. I don't know how broad that small business category could be, but it could even possibly extend to small resorts or other troubled businesses. So it might be something worthwhile looking into. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, Councilor Nishikawa, if you have a report.
Thank you. Well, mostly I just would say that health services are very engaged in COVID responses. Our paramedics have been assisting in our long-term care home, have been assisting in our long-term care home. Our long-term care home, by the way, at the Pines, has done a phenomenal job. And it is noted across the province how well that administration has conducted themselves. Even prior to COVID, they were always a shining star. So from that perspective, I would say that our seniors in that long-term care home are well protected. I am encouraged by some of the direction that the paramedics are bringing forward with paramedicine. And I hope to bring more information forward to how that may affect Muskoka Lakes individually. So for example, I did speak in the past about this, but paramedics would go and do house calls to those that they actually initially had taken to hospital, and they would do that follow-up and they would help assist in whatever way they could. It's easier to be done. It has been easier for them to be, for example, to be doing that in Huntsville, Bracebridge, and Gravenhurst, but there is a willingness and they would like to be more involved in Muskoka Lakes. At this point, I'll end my report. I really encourage others, though, that go online and view the district agendas and meetings for any and all of our meetings.
Good, thank you very much. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you very much. On our meeting at CPS, we had a presentation on climate change. We did pass a resolution going forward to the district council to support a emergency climate change program. And we had an update on seniors program. The government had out a $25,000 grant. We have applied for one and it comes up to $24,917. So we're very, very close to the limit. Ontario Works Social Assistance overall and renewal, just a verbal report. Same as with housing and homelessly for the 10-year plan. And we had the geo information system going through. And one final thing was the final approval and registration of plans for missed opportunities on Lake Muskoka. And that is my report.
Okay, good. Thank you. Councilor Nishikawa has a question.
Thank you. Actually, it's a comment I wanted to make. So interestingly, because I was on community services and now health services, Alan is in place of that. I wanted to comment that the behind the scenes activities that the district is doing, we were aware of the wellness group that was bringing joy and activities to our senior population and actually including children in that as well. They recently were doing house calls, I will say, in their version of a house call of Merry Christmases to those that they couldn't be connected to over the last year, but they have certainly have formed a relationship since this program started a number of years ago. And I just wanted to let others know that the district has been doing those types of things behind the scenes, and it is greatly appreciated.
Good, thank you. That's a great update. Any comments on any of the reports that we've received? I see none. I'll move on to item 10B, which is community events update. Has anyone got any comments in terms of, you better not have.
I do.
Councillor Edwards, Councillor Hayes. Councillor Edwards, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to give the Economic Development Committee from the Windermere perspective of putting lights on the Village Hall and the freight shed. It's very much appreciated, and it really looks beautiful, so thank you very much.
Yeah, very
And
good.
other than that, we're in lockdown, so there's nothing else happening.
Town Windermere. Councillor Hayes.
Okay, for as long as I can remember, we've had a potluck Christmas children's party to celebrate the season. Needless to say, this is not happening this year, but Walker's Point is still celebrating on the 19th of December at 6 p.m. We'll all be coming out of our homes and we will be ringing our bells. We will be whistling. We'll be banging some pots to pass along Christmas cheer to all of our neighbors in a safe way. And there is rumors that Santa's elves have done their thing, and there will be presents there for children that live full-time on the point. So if you hear a little noise from Walker's Point, it's just us giving an ear for cheer. Thank you.
Nice, nicely done. Thank you. Good luck with that. Any other, Councillor Roberts, please, go ahead. Gord.
Come on. Thank you, Chair. Yes, from the Milford Bay community, even though we're in lockdown, we can't use the community center. And for years and years and years, we've had the annual children's Christmas party there. What's happening this year is that the ladies who organize that in the community have reached out to their network of bakers, and they have made up little bags of treats for the children, as well as gifts, as they do every year. And what they do is the library gives out books to all the children that they're aware of. And I would like to extend a thank you to the volunteer firemen who were off duty of volunteer firefighting, who came to the Milford Bay Community Center, the local, and they helped decorate the large pine tree that is in the park. So that was great. So I just want to extend a thank you to those gentlemen and ladies for helping us decorate our community center.
Good, great community efforts. I'm sure they're appreciated by us all. Is there anything else? Anyone else want to have any kind of a comment or statement? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move on to 10C, discussion regarding volunteer engagement. I have Councillor Roberts.
Thank you. So just very, very quickly, I would like to, we've had volunteers have been the backbone of this community since the beginning of time. And we need an updated policy, given all the things that are going on and with liability and that. We need to get staff to give us an update policy that we can use so that we can manage and care for our volunteers. I was reading the 1999 master plan and on volunteers, and it was very interesting about them using tools on our trails and stuff like that. But we need to have I believe, ask staff for an updated volunteer plan or policy that we can use to go forward to encourage more volunteer help. We used to get Beaver Creek in, according to Ruth Nishikawa, and I'd like to be able to reach out to Beaver Creek again on our trails. So that's what this is all about. Thank you.
Good, thank you. I might ask if any staff. Oh, sorry, I can't see. Ken, Director Becking, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Council should be aware that it is on staff's radar, and I expect I'll have draft policy for your consideration not immediately in the new year, but certainly before we get into the active season where volunteers will be engaged.
Good, thank you. Councillor Roberts?
Supplemental. Thank you, Director Becking. The only one thing I'd like you maybe to consider is the liability coverage of insurance for volunteers. If they're out doing our trails, and I know in the community center, so we've now built by community effort, it built a gazebo in Milford Bay, a beautiful gazebo. And this is all done by the goodness of people's hearts. And I think we should at least try to cover them off in some sort of liability. So through that volunteer staff report, what can be done there to help with any liability coverage. Thank you.
Okay, Director Becking, I would imagine you take that under advisement.
We will.
And thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 10D, which is a notice of motion, which I have here. Is there any discussion about it? You can see it in your documents. I do have a notice of motion, which is moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Roberts. As it relates, be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommended Township Council to support the resolution passed by the Council of the Town of Shelburne on November 23rd, 2020 regarding Bill 229 Conservation Authorities. I mean, I can just take the vote. If anyone wants an opportunity for a comment, I suppose I could allow that here now. Given that there isn't any response to that, I'm just gonna ask for a show of hands. So all those in favor? Or do you want me to reread it? Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved, General Finance Committee recommended Township Council to support the resolution passed by the Council of the Town of Shelburne on November 23rd, 2020 regarding Bill 229 Conservation Authorities. All those in favor? Good. That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so that is that's the meeting, and I appreciate your time and your understanding. It's 11:30. I would read this resolution. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that this meeting adjourned at 11:30 a.m. and the next regular meeting of the General Finance Committee will be held electronically on Wednesday, January 13th, 2021 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the chair from the Council Chambers, Municipal Office, Port Carling. All those in favor? Good. We're agreeing on a lot of things today. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in a few hours.
Zoom you later.